The last thread connecting him to the village and to Simi was gone. He didn't even go back for the funeral. Life in the UK was too hectic. Or maybe he just didn't have the courage to face everything he'd left behind. Back in the village, the same morning Kunle boarded his bus, Simi sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the space he'd left behind. It still held his scent. The air still felt like him. She smiled through her sadness, replaying the night they had shared, like a film in her mind. He had said he wouldn't leave her, that they would be together. But days passed, then weeks. No word, no calls, no letters. She asked a few people around the village if they had heard from Mama Titi or her grandson, but no one had. Eventually, she stopped asking. 2 months later, she began waking up sick. Her appetite vanished. Her body felt different. It wasn't long before the truth revealed itself. Simi was pregnant. Her mother was furious. "This is what happens when you trust people like him," she snapped. A city boy with sweet words and empty promises. Simi didn't defend Kunle. She didn't say his name. She simply held her stomach and nodded. There was no way to reach him. Mama Titi was unreachable. No one knew the address in Lagos, and even if she had, Kunle had already left Nigeria, moved abroad, gone without a trace. She cried for nights, but in time, she dried her own tears. And when her son was born, she named him Tifalua, God's will be done. He had Kunle's eyes. Simi poured herself into motherhood. She refused to let shame define her. She worked at her mother's shop, took on small tailoring jobs, and slowly rebuilt her life. She never spoke badly of Kunle. When her son asked about his father, she said, "He loved you. He just didn't know how to stay." Years passed. Kunle and Biola's marriage cracked under pressure. First came the arguments, then the distance. Resentments piled up until the love beneath them suffocated. 6 years after moving to the UK, they divorced. 2 children, 1 mortgage, and a long silence between them. Kunle moved into a small flat, alone, quiet, a man who had built the life he was supposed to, only to realize he'd left his heart in a village far away. He didn't know Simi had a child. He didn't know that a little boy with his dimples and stubbornness was growing up in a dusty corner of Nigeria, learning to fish, fetch water, and ask gentle questions about a father he'd never met. And Simi? She had stopped hoping long ago. But fate wasn't finished with either of them yet. Life was never easy for Simi after Kunle left. Raising a child on her own in a village where gossip was currency and judgment came free wasn't just hard, it was suffocating. Her son, Tefalua, was her light, but the nights were long and heavy with questions she couldn't answer. She never got over Kunle. Even when she wanted to hate him, she couldn't. Some wounds don't scar, stay raw, tucked away behind smiles and survival. She never told Taif the full story, just that his father was far away, and life had taken them in different directions. Still, she fought for a better life. One day, a friend mentioned something, an opportunity, a woman in Ibadan helping young women move abroad as care workers. She offered certificates of sponsorship for a fee and took repayment from monthly wages. It wasn't perfect, but it was legal and real. Simi hesitated. The UK felt like another world, but when she looked at her Sanhee's shoes too tight, his appetite outgrowing her salary, she knew she had no choice. The agent arranged everything. Papers were processed, flights booked. To complete the sponsorship terms, Simi had to travel with a man pretending to be her husband. A quiet, older friend of the agent who needed the paperwork as much as she did. They agreed. No relationship, just paperwork. They lived in a shared flat in the UK, civil, respectful, but separate in all ways that mattered. And so, Simi started over in the UK. She worked long hours in a care home, barely had time to breathe. But every time she tucked Taif into bed in their new home, warm and safe, she whispered, "We're okay now." He was 8 years old, funny, curious, and painfully smart. He often asked about his real dad, but she deflected gently, always with grace. Then one day, everything changed. It was a rainy Tuesday, the kind that turns even summer into gray. Simi had just finished a 12-hour shift and picked Taif up from the childminders. They were both tired her with aching feet, him with chocolate-stained hands. At the train station, they walked toward the ticket gates. Simi reached out to take her ticket from the machine, her eyes half shut from exhaustion. The machine clicked. She reached up, then froze. There on the other side of the gate stood Kunle. Older, broader, in uniform. His eyes met hers instantly. It was as if time stopped. He blinked. She stood motionless, her ticket in hand, her son beside her. Taif looked up at the man, then at his mother. "Mummy, why are you crying?" She hadn't even realized. Kunle stepped forward slowly, scanning her face like he couldn't believe it was real. His hand trembled slightly as he reached to open the gate. "Simi?" he whispered, voice low, stunned. She swallowed hard. "Kunle." A silence swallowed the noise of the station. Then Kunle looked down at the boy standing beside her. Their eyes locked. A flash of something ancient flickered in his chest. Recognition, familiarity, the same stubborn chin, the same deep-set eyes. Taif stepped behind his mother's leg, shy. Kunle looked up again. "Is he?" Simi's voice cracked, but she nodded. "Yes." Kunle's chest heaved. Tears threatened, but he blinked them back. "I looked for you," he said softly. "For years. I went back to the village. Mama had passed. No one knew where you'd gone." "I left," she said, barely above a whisper. "I had to." They stood there, passengers moving around them, lives carrying on as if the world hadn't just tilted. "I'm sorry," Kunle said. "I never meant to leave you like that." Simi looked at him long and hard. "But you did." "I know, and I've lived with it every day since." A pause. Then, "Can I talk to him?" She hesitated, then knelt beside her son. "Taif, remember I told you about your father?" He nodded slowly. She took his hand. "That's him." The boy stared up at Kunle, uncertain. Kunle knelt too. "Hi, Taif. I'm your daddy." Taif blinked. "Do you live here too?" "I do, and I'd really like to see you again if it's okay with your mummy." Simi looked away briefly. Her heart was thudding in her ears. She had dreamed of this moment, feared it, needed it. She met Kunle's eyes one last time. "We'll talk." And for the first time in nearly a decade, there was no bitterness in her voice, only softness. Hope.